Iranian President Hassan Rouhani defending death to America. He says they don't really mean it, that the infamous Iranian chant is aimed at past U.S. policies. Rouhani offered that shocking support during an interview that will air tonight on 60 Minutes. And it is the same day that the United Nations nuclear inspectors, the head of the IAEA, has arrived in Tehran to see if Iran will live up to the controversial nuclear agreement. Will they come clean? Ambassador John Bolton is traveling. We are joined by Ambassador Robert Jordan. He's the former U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia, diplomat in residence and adjunct professor at SMU, and the author of Desert Diplomat Inside Saudi Arabia Following 9/11. Ambassador Jordan, always good to see you.
Good to see you, Rick.
The phrase that we hear all the time, death to America, is that really, do you think, a legitimate view of a legitimate partner in peace?
No, it's not, but I think it's a mixed message in a way. It's not unusual from the times of Machiavelli and even before that for a country to try to deflect what's going on internally by having some outside enemy. And so this is part of Iran's game. But it's more than a slogan. Obviously, when they develop these intercontinental ballistic missiles that this nuclear agreement is going to ultimately allow them to do, those are going to be pointed at us. And intercontinental means from their continent to ours.
I mean, that's pretty astounding. I mean, people forget about that. We're talking about the nuclear, potential nuclear bomb. But you got the missiles and you have billions of dollars the critics say will go to fund terrorism.
I think that's a huge risk and a likely possibility. They won't take all that money to support terrorism, but they've clearly cast their lot with Hezbollah, with Hamas, with a lot of those who are trying to destabilize the Sunni regimes in the Middle East, to say nothing of perhaps other parts of the world.
We just saw a video of Yuki Amano, the head of the IAEA, the international inspectors, arriving in Tehran today. He has about a month or so before he will issue a report. Northern Iran is actually revealing their past nuclear experiments and their secrets. What do you think will come of this meeting? Do you think Iran will allow interviews with nuclear scientists? Do you think Iran will allow access to parchin, which is what we're seeing right now? And the fact that IAEA inspectors, they're not getting the soil samples. It'll be the Iranians doing it under the IAEA observations. Do you think, does that give you faith that this agreement can be lived up to?
It's worrisome, Eric. I will say this. The parchin inspections are going to be closely monitored by the IAEA. They'll have either video or other kinds of direct surveillance of those who are making the collections. And let's remember that parchin is aimed at their past conduct, not what's going on in the present or the future. For the future soil samples and other environmental samples, I think we will see the IAEA directly involved. So this is something that I think we've got to make a distinction on, but it certainly is worrisome if they don't allow them to talk with their scientists. We need to know what they've done in the past so that we can figure out how they'll try to cheat in the future.
And what happens if in a month, when that deadline comes, the IAEA says, well, we don't know everything. We think this. We don't know what they did. We didn't talk to everybody. We couldn't do everything we could do. I mean, what does the world do then with this agreement?
They have to have a certain certification that they are in compliance in order for the money to be released and to go forward. And so we have to trust in some degree the IAEA's integrity and their technical competence. But there may well be some ambiguity here, and we're just going to have to wait and see what that looks like.
And finally, Ambassador, what's your concern? I mean, what's your worry? You talk about 10 years from now, the ICBMs. John Kerry has said the UN resolution will prevent funding of terrorism, but what do you predict will happen to the Middle East, to Saudi Arabia, and to Iran 1 decade from now?
Well, I think we're going to be back where we are right now in some ways, but at the same time, Iran will have been given a glide path and a running start to develop a further nuclear program and to weaponize through their ballistic missile program. My greatest concern is the shortness of duration. 10 years to 15 years in the Middle East is a nanosecond. They think in terms of decades and generations, and we don't.
That is for sure. Ambassador Robert Jordan, good to see you. Thank you so much. And, of course, congratulations on your book, as always.
Thank you.